staff. I've earlier mentioned that significantly reduce the cost of operating banks that have been mentioned. In our opinion, banks can be run at significantly lower cost, especially the interest rate, which is, exceptionally very high. And we also want you to please make the jobs of your staff a little bit more secure. The attrition rate in the industry today is very high. And we complain of fraud. The people we have put out of job, and they go back to catch us. So let's make things a little bit more stable and more secure for our people. Now, if we come to regulators, yes, sir. If we come to regulators, we are asking regulators to deal with liquidity problem in the system. We all know that if you read the soundness of banks' reports in CBN and NDIC reports, some banks are lying comatose today. Now, we want you to, CBN, to narrow the gap between savings interest rates and lending rates. The gap is too huge. And we have also mentioned that we need to take a look at the multiple exchange rates that we have in Nigeria. It's not solving any problem for us. Well, I'm told I'm running out of time, but I think we should be allowed to exhaust our position because you are serving us and you invited us. Now, we come back to me because I have so many other things to impose here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We know that you have a lot to pour out here. That is why, after man, I wanted you to give us your views. Now, going back to the crux of the discussion, which is really governance issues and how they impact through the banking system on national development. We have seen and heard the expression from the last panelist. It's really angry. And I don't want to say for good reason, but you see, I think he's in a position to reel out some statistics to us. The issue is that what is the state of our banking system? Suleiman, he tried to, advance the argument that, well, savings are not there, cost is there, and things like that. We know that to make up the system. Where do we really stand? And that is why the last panelist is reiterating what the speaker said about intervening, bailing out with banks, with public funds. I think that is really not so much in fashion anymore, because the belief is that we are really socializing losses and privatizing profits. If owners of the bank run the bank to the ground, there's perhaps no justification to use public funds to bail out those private citizens. Now, I want to invite the past president of CIP, and I would like him to dwell on this issue. What do you think, as we have heard, how do we get out of the cycle we are in now? Because we seem to be in the cycle owned by insiders of banks. It's about above 700 billion. Now, the problem there is that 3 banks in Nigeria now are accountable for 60% of this. Where do we go from here? We have banks in the system today that, if not for the lifelines, they will not even be there anymore. But the speaker says, why do you continue? Because the contagion will be greater at the end of the day. You infuse funds into these institutions. You really don't know where you are headed. You don't know where it's taking you. You are just hoping that, okay, another day will come, and then after that, another day will come. But the final analysis, you are going in the same direction. It's been said before. I'd like Professor Jibola to comment on this.
Thank you, the chairman. Let me also thank the guest speaker and other panelists for a wonderful presentation and incisive comments. Now we are talking about strengthening the banking system and facilitating sustained economic growth as a team. And I want to join my thoughts with that of the guest speaker, which I believe will answer some of the questions the chairman has posed. Strengthening the banking system speaks to the quality and the makeup of the banks in terms of liabilities and assets, staffing and management, decision-making process, the control mechanisms in place, the board oversight functions, and the regulatory apparatus. We must put all this together to define the quality of any banking institution. For us to achieve this, we again look at the good portfolio matching that is in place, how sound the corporate governance rules are, the reward sanction system, the quality of supervision of the board, and at the regulatory levels. Sustained economic growth, even in the literature, speaks to real as opposed to nominal growth over a period of time. That is a growth that is determinable within the economy and the one that is not susceptible to externalities. What we are facing in the country today, we look at our statistics. Some of the records we are talking about, they are externally defined. And whenever there are external shocks and the global environment is in a state of disequilibrium, it immediately bounces on us. The roles of banks that we are talking about, they are not likely different from the traditional roles that we all know of financial intermediation. Again, in the literature, there is a very strong nexus between the quality of financial intermediation and economic growth. We talk of quality of credit. What's the credit approval process like in our banks? The payment system, financial literacy and inclusion, corporate governance practices, environmental, regulatory, and institutional framework. As of today, in our environment, there is very weak transition mechanism between the nominal and the real sectors of the economy. And that is why credit is disbursed. At the end of the day, we get nothing from it. I keep saying, our findings continue to confirm this, even in the academia. Credit is just a necessary. It's not a sufficient condition for growth. That is why we have said credit upon credit. Even give some sectors money free of charge, they won't make anything out of it if other things are not in place. So, with this means equity participation, what came out of it? Because the problems of the different sectors of the economy, and now we can use those sectors to galvanize growth, they are beyond credit. Other stakeholders must play their own role. Or what use is free money you give to somebody and 60% of that money is spent to generate power, and you are expecting growth. You are expecting a nexus between that kind of credit advancement and economic growth. It won't happen. And that is the dilemma we are contending with as a people. And that is the gap that we've been experiencing. Now, for us, in answering your question, sir, and because of time, for us to get out of this vicious cycle, I won't say vicious cycle of poverty, but vicious cycle of inertia in our dealings, we must address key and paramount issues that affect the performance of our financial institutions, that will make them enablers for growth and development. You know, in about 1770, Adam Smith, one of the earliest authorities in economics, released a book, The Wealth and Poverty of Nations. And somebody in Africa followed up how Europe underdeveloped Africa, Wateroni. If Wateroni was to be alive today, I will be one of those that will be asking him to release another volume, How Africans Underdeveloped Africa. So for us to address some of these issues, we must look critically into how we can sustain growth by addressing cultural issues. There are lots of cultural issues militating against growth, even affecting practices. Just on Friday, in CIBN, we were talking about some of these issues at the 2018 valedictory lecture. And somebody raised an issue that we have cultural problems, cultural gaps, religious gaps, that will not even enable financial intermediaries to play critical roles in this environment. Thank God Islamic banking is being regulated now, or is first of all being operated and regulated. It's an issue. We need to address certain political issues within our banks, political issues at the national level. Well, maybe with the new corporate governance rules and the cry so far, the need to entrench best practices in our banks. The days are going. I don't know if they are gone. I've less practice for quite a number of years. Where political interference decides where credit goes. Where critical decisions at the board level, at the operating level in our banks, were politically influenced. If this is the case, in that gap between the financial, which is the nominal sector, and the real sector of the economy, will continue to widen. But today, one can say, with what has been happening, a lot of improvement has been seen. The issue of security in our environment and other environmental challenges. Banks have gone through a lot of challenges, but most critical is the level of ethical practices. It's good that the Chartered of Bankers of Nigeria is playing some roles here today to ensure that ethical conduct in the industry is upheld and sustained. There is code of conduct for bankers as of today, developed both by the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Chartered of Bankers of Nigeria. There is a competency framework for industry operatives, so that at the end of the day, the right skill sets are developed and deployed. And where this is not the case, there are rules. In fact, certification requirements today says the rank peg must be in the rank hole. All these are necessary for us to address those gaps that you have mentioned. Because without addressing all these issues, we will continue to struggle with ethical conduct. We will continue to struggle with problem of poor corporate governance. We will continue to struggle with a lot of interferences at different levels, not necessarily professionally inclined. And to round up, I am also aware that today, the efficacy of financial intermediation in propelling growth and development that we are talking about will be much more improved if we improve infrastructural deployment that we are seeing again through FinTech, digitalized banking, and we are able to develop consumer friendly products, which the president of the Bank Customers Association talked about. And by driving all this, well, maybe the much talk about lending at a single digit interest rate will be achieved eventually, but the point still remains, and I stand by this tenaciously, based on the pilots I myself have conducted. Give money to somebody free of charge if other conditions are not there. The ultimate, which is growth, And of course, I always talk about development too, because growth is not sufficient for an environment. Growth must be accompanied by development. And that is why World Bank, in all their reports, they talk about Human Development Index, which takes us away from growth into development. Thank you, the chairman. But I will join all banks that are here. Enterprise risk management is a tool of corporate governance. We need it in our banks. We need it in all our financial institutions, in non-bank financial institutions. If we can manage the enterprise, we can manage the risk the risks that are coming from all the sectors and all the activities that we go into in our banks, including reputational risk, including people's risk. We'll be able to focus our business. We'll be able to divert resources to productive uses. And we'll be able to help channel those resources to areas that will help galvanize economic growth in our environment. And through deepening those practices, growth will also help us.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kola is very, very passionate about governance in banks. So it's not surprising that he's so passionate. Now, I want us to not drift away from the focal point too much. Governance, risk management, sustainability as drivers of national development. Now, the banks, as they are today, without strong corporate governance culture, it is difficult for foreign investors to really see the country as a destination. We can put as much rhetoric on TV as we wish, but the facts are there and the figures are there. Like I said, I wish I was a panelist this morning. It would have been amazing. But in a moderating role, I have to hold my tongue. Now, I would like us to still stick with the points. So from the point of view of Bank of Industry, we know that you are doing a lot in the areas of intervention. Okay. Now, a lot of your activities you run through the commercial banks. How comfortable are you really? Because personally, I know of some cases that have cropped up between you and some of the banks that you're dealing with. Do you see this as a problem? I don't want to go into those details. I'm a regulator, I know. Do you envisage more problems? Do you wish you could do many of these things on your own? Is there having to run through the commercial banking system and situation? But then again, we would like you to give us your views from your perspective, how you can be assisted to achieve further economic development for the country.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Inka. I am the Group Head of Strategy and Corporate Transformation for Bank of Industry. I'm sitting in for Mr. African who couldn't be here today because of pressing official matters. Okay, before I go into specifically answering your questions, I would just like to speak, generally around development finance, which is it's kind of a specialized structure in the financial sector in Nigeria. It's fundamentally, development finance fundamentally sits on top of three fulcrum. Largely, a development finance institution is set up to reduce poverty levels, right, to ensure financial inclusion, and to intervene in areas where significant job creation can be achieved. And Bank of Industry was set up about 59 years ago. We've gone through quite a number of transformations, and we became Bank of Industry in 2001. And what we've been doing, our mandates were owned by the government, Ministry of Finance Incorporated and CBN. And the mandate we have is to provide, financial and business advisory support. Just like Professor said, it's not just finance that is the problem. We need to have adequate capacity to even manage businesses. before finance is required. The fundamental part of what we do requires finance. Like moderator said, CBN has been a strong strategic partner in providing us with funds, as a vehicle to reach out to the real sector through the intervention funds. And for us as well, we've gone out there into the market to raise funds for ourselves, because we can't keep depending on, handouts, so to speak, or being depending largely on the governments to provide us with funds to operate our business. And in that respect, what we've done in the past 1 year, gone into the market, we've raised close to about $1 billion, working with multilateral institutions, African Development Bank, FITC, and Islamic Development Bank as one nation to become industrialized. We have close to about 40 million MSMEs in Nigeria. 99.7% of this number is made up of micro enterprises. And so directly answering your question now, for us to be able to provide that support and also manage our cost effectively so that we don't become a commercial bank, we allocated about 24 states in the Federation, and we leverage significantly strategic partnerships with commercial banks and with microfinance banks. This is because they have the reach and the resources to be able to, especially for microfinance banks, to reach microenterprises, to reach microenterprises in the hinterlands. So what we do is to provide an on-lending platform, for microfinance banks and provide them with funds, which is cheaper than what they would ordinarily get, elsewhere, and for them to lend to microenterprises at an agreed rate. Of course, the other side of the story is ensuring that that takes place, or we have structures in place to ensure that that takes place to a large extent. And what is also fundamental in what we do is our partnership with commercial banks, like you said. A large portion of our loans is guaranteed by commercial banks, so we have them as partners. We've actually set up a structure to ensure that we continuously sit together to talk about issues, problems, or any area where we can ensure that it's a mutually beneficial relationship. There have been discussions that are going on. We have a quarterly session that we've set up with commercial banks and an annual session with the CEOs of commercial banks with our CEO in place, because at the end of the day, we can't be by ourselves. We don't have the reach. We don't even want to deploy resources where we can leverage other structures to do so. So that's why it's very important for us, as a DFI, to be able to manage costs and to ensure that these loans, as we let them go out, they come back, and we're able to revolve them around, to be able to reach other people. And one fundamental challenge that we experience in that respect, a large part of people who would like to access funds from us think, it's a national, it's a public institution, so it's our money. We've seen situations where people just come and they would say, I understand you're sharing money, yeah, I want my share. So it's quite challenging in that respect. So we do a lot of outreach, we do a lot of sensitization that this fund we're a limited liability company, though we're owned largely by the government, but we're a limited liability company. We have to, cover our costs. We need to take care of expenses as well, and this money is not free. We have a structure for our corporate social responsibility. We have a certain sum that we set aside to support, capacity building, training, and all sorts of events, workshops. But in terms of the funds that we give out, they are loans. And of course, what we provide, it's very flexible and very friendly. Interest rate on most of our funds is 10% or less. There are some that are 0%. We also provide business advisory services. Largely, we provide free training for all sorts of segments of the population at no cost to these individuals. We have products that are set up for the youth, for different segments, for female businesses, and several other sectors that we look into. And one thing we also do is to ensure that we align our strategic focus on what the government, in terms of the plans of the government. So we've aligned our structure internally to the NIRP, Nigeria Industrial Revolution Plan, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan as well, in terms of focusing on key sectors of the economy, growth sectors of the economy. We've talked about agriculture, we've talked about the entertainment industry, we've talked about solid minerals. These are really, there are huge opportunities here for us to fast track our industrialization dream. And just to say a little bit about your concern about manufacturing. For us, manufacturing cuts across the sectors that we play in. Agriculture, we focus largely on the processing part, which, you know, you're processing cassava to gari, manufacturing, solid minerals, limestone to cement, manufacturing, you know, so for us, it's not, we don't see it as a standalone, it's even the base upon which we provide support for business. So, in terms of how we operate, corporate governance is very important to us. It's, you know, we actually have no choice but to be compliant because we're owned by the government and we're regulated by our key shareholders as well, you know, so for us, it's enshrined in the system. There are structures and processes which cover what we do. Largely, one other area where significant support is required, especially as it relates to micro, small, and medium enterprises. We've talked a lot about industrial parks, you know, special economic zones, and all of these structures, which at the end of the day should help provide a base for small and medium enterprises to share knowledge, to share costs, and be able to make them sustainable. It's largely a government function, but we try as much as possible to provide the required advocacy to ensure that we move forward, you know, on a really fast basis to get these things done. Collateral as well. For the funds that we provide, up to a certain level, you do not require collateral. But when it comes to collateral, we require you to provide it. You know, so collateral registry, fantastic idea. It's already live. We're already plugging into it, which is another platform through which SMEs can be de-risked, you know, to provide them with an opportunity to be able to reach more finance. I think on a large basis, I don't know if I've answered your question, you know, through all of these things that I've been talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know why I asked that question is because we are talking about development and the role of the banking sector. I did not expect Suleiman to have much support. So I left another banker for last, who will hear everything and then we hear what she has to say in support or not support of the banking. So I'm done. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I found this session very interesting. Actually, our guest speaker had no idea that Zambia had completely liberated its foreign exchange environment, and I guess we have a lesson to learn from that, and I will touch on it as I speak. I am in significant agreement with my worker, which I guess you would expect me to be. There's one thing I want to say about the state the banks are in now and the things that we do. And one of the issues is that they arise out of the incentives that exist out there. I really sympathize with our apex regulator, the central bank, as Abuka said. Unlike the central banks in developed economies that can just focus on price stability and focus single-mindedly on it, here we have the central bank stepping in and having to do what the fiscal authorities ought to be doing. And in trying to juggle two perhaps diametrically opposed positions, perhaps it's not surprising that sometimes a solution that is put in place to solve one problem does nothing but create a different one. So I'll take the point of, the gentleman from Man here was very vocal on the question of interest rate. Because you're not lending to the productive sector, and then look at the interest rates. And I'll tell you what, if you are in an economy where you can invest in risk-free government, risk-free, 100%, at a yield of between 21 and 24%, at what rate would a risky investment have to be done to make me even interested? Even if the bank is so altruistic or the management is so altruistic as to say, you know what, I'd like to lend to a manufacturer who needs 10-year money at that same 21 to 24%, your board is going to say, are you crazy? These things are difficult. So in trying to solve, and this is something that has gone on, and I say it, I think I feel free to use this example because it's changing. We have seen certain things that have been adopted, particularly this year, and I think perhaps it's also the fiscal authority stepping up to the plate. And we've seen certain things that have driven down the interest rates on the short end, especially, so that now banks are not comfortable. First of all, the availability of the government securities is even limited now, and the yield on it is so low because the demand is high that people actually have to now go out and look for, alternative investments, which for a bank that would be a loan. But at the end of the day, the banks are rational economic entities, and they put the money where they can put it, the safest at the best yield. And it even speaks to what the gentleman from representing the bank customer said. We want to put our money in the bank, and it is safe, and anytime we come back. So conflicting. So slowly we will get there, but we have to understand that that is only rational. That is what will happen. The banking industry is playing a fantastic role, especially for those of us. If I may just say my background, my bank is a merchant bank, so it's not a commercial bank with hundreds of branches all over the place. We do not deal, as a rule, with retail clients. So there are certain businesses that a general commercial bank would do that we don't. In fact, I always tell people that when they say, well, what on earth is a merchant bank? I say, substitute the word merchant with these words, corporate and investment. So in essence, we're like the corporate and investment of a bank, and that's what we focus on. But loans are still our business, and we've got to do them in a way that makes sense. And as a bank that is not a retail bank, we actually don't have access to huge idle balances. So in essence, we purchase most of our money. So it puts us in that category that we can only lend off the money that we have raised. And if you look at the market, there are lots of bond issuances in the market now and coming out, and look at the rate at which even the best commercial banks will be raising there. So that's the money they borrow in order to on-lend. So for the clients out there, you keep a close eye on that, and that will give you an idea of what the base could possibly be. That is without going into intervention funds as provided by the BOI and so on. So these are the realities, and it is how will we work together to make sure that, first of all, that base is low, and then the spread on top of the base is also reasonable, so that we can then on-lend this money. And in that, one looks at that big spread. I think there was somebody who said something about the gap between savings and lending. In that spread is the cost of running people generators, the bad loans, and all of that. So we've got to work on each of these elements to reduce them, and that is what will reduce the spread over at which we can lend money. Then sometimes in our environment also, I'm not sure how relevant this is, but this I feel very strongly about it. Sometimes the regulators seem to be taught at cost purposes. So some of us who in our businesses are dealing with different regulators, we feel, my understanding was that there was a body in which all the regulators speak to each other. But sometimes we wonder, because I understand as we speak now, the pension regulator is looking to set up a different biometric system at great cost to the operators there. And you wonder if people are talking to each other, and we have the BVN that I must commend the central bank for that. I'm sure even they feel that it was successful beyond what they themselves had anticipated. Why on earth would the PenCom think of saying, is it possible that anybody could be earning a pension without having a bank account? It's not possible. So why don't, and these are, we have these regulations that conflict with each other, each one adding another layer of cost to the system. And I think I'm actually voicing that we want our regulators to work more closely together and make sure that this arbitrage, so to speak, among regulators, it doesn't exist, because very often we have one financial institution or one financial group subject to 3-4 different regulators, all giving instructions that are in conflict with one another, or certainly not helping one another. We really have to get away from this. Having said all of that, I agree with everything here that I think the issue of corporate governance is probably the most important one that we have in our industry today. And I'm sure the chairman of the panel in his role in the NDIC, I've heard it said several times from the central bank, and that in all the banks that have failed in Nigeria, there have been problems. But the worst problem, the problem that was the gateway to all the others, was the problem with corporate governance. And the saying goes that the fish rots from the head. So we really have to go all the way back to the head and make sure that we set in place rules that will not allow the past to recur. And I think in Nigeria we love exceptionalism. The rule applies to everyone except a certain few. And it's those certain few that create the gateway for all the problems to come back again. So let's have a level playing field. Let the rules apply to everybody. And let's listen to our customers, because as the gentleman said, and he's right, the banks could not exist without the customers. So let's treat them with some respect. But I believe the will is there. And on a positive note, I do think things are changing. It may be slow, but it is happening. I mean, coming back to the question where I started on the foreign exchange, those of us who are in the bankers committee know how long it took to bring in this famous I and E window that is now the savior of the Nigerian economy. And at one time, it looked like it would never happen. There were certain banks, particularly the foreign ones in our midst, that had advocated it for a long time that the exchange rate will not deteriorate as badly as we think. But sometimes what is more important is availability. And you send out that signal there. And I think when it was perhaps fearfully and reluctantly adopted, the positive results were so great that I don't think there's no question that it will continue. And I think ultimately that can only lead to further liberalization. So it may not happen in one fell swoop as it did in Zambia in 1994, but maybe chipping away at it little by little, ultimately we will get there. So that's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Robert. You have tried. And you have tried to exonerate the banks from the problem. But we are here saying that the banks cannot be divorced from the problem. So I don't know how you want us to believe what you're telling me. I want to just quickly ask our paper presenter if you have had bank failures in recent times. Have you had bank failures in recent times? In Zambia?
Thank you, Chair. I would define recent times as over 15 years ago, because after that we've had very good stabilization. We did have bank failures. Now, I think what is important is to understand what led to those bank failures. Many of which, there is no question that there was a collapse of corporate governance practices. There were quite a number that were guilty of insider dealing, lending to the directors beyond thresholds. And there was also a number of banks, when we liberalized the banking sector, a lot of people came on the bandwagon. Even traders opened banks, and banking is a professional arena. If you run a different type of business, does not mean you can be a successful banker. So we saw business people putting money together and forming a bank, and obviously it couldn't go very far. And also another lesson we learned was that the equity levels, but this, as I say, happened and quite frequently at some point, some 15 years going back, but with the measures that have been introduced and stronger emphasis on corporate governance supervision, banking sector reform, policy alignments, realignments, we have seen tremendous stability in the banking sector. So it's possible to aspire to a level like that. Thank you.
There was a point where Nigeria and Zambia were on the same road. But somehow, maybe we made a wrong turn or something. The reason why I asked of bank failures in Zambia is, as you know very well, there is a common belief that bank failures run a cycle of between 7 to 10 years. If you have not had bank failures in 15 years, then you have bucked the trend. Because even presently, globally, there is a fear that, well, the cycle is almost complete. In Nigeria, we're also worried that the cycle is almost complete. And this goes to the issue of the weak corporate governance culture in the banking system. I'm not saying in banking, in the banking system, with internal controls. So if this is the situation, how will this drive the financial system to assist economic development? That is our fear as regulators. Now, why is this cycle? It is believed that once there is a round of bank failures, what happens is that the regulators suddenly wake up and realize that there has been some degree of regulatory failure. And then everybody starts to run helter-skelter. There is bank failure because the banks became complacent, introduced all kinds of new products that had no definition or control, and the regulators were asleep. Now when the banks failed, regulators woke up. What we now find is a new set of rules, left and right, to prevent such things happening again. Then the banks sit up. Everybody is following the rules. But with time, the banks become relaxed. The regulators become relaxed. And the history repeats itself. So we are worried. The state of affairs, state of banking affairs in Nigeria today. These are my very good friends. So they will tell me that their banks are okay, true. Their banks, but I'm looking at the aggregate, the system. Where are we really in the system? Because we have had cries that some banks in Nigeria should recapitalize. This has not been done. And like you said in your paper, quite rightly, the sooner things are corrected, the better. Otherwise, you pull everybody down. So that is our fear. So when bank customers are worried about the safety of their funds, we as regulators we are also worried about the safety of their funds. And that is why, as deposit insurance, we don't really go to sleep. We watch all of these things. And we call the bank, we have meetings with them all the time. I wanted to know that so that we have other bankers here. Let everybody be alive to the fact that are we getting close to the precipice all over again? Because presently we have so many banks that are still in the process of liquidation in Nigeria. Very, very difficult situation. When you open the files of these, the credit files of these banks, you find credits that were granted with absolutely